the Tata Curvv EV has been grabbing headlines with its price and all of that stuff, but this Tata Curvv ICE is now a very strong contender in that very crowded C segment SUV market in India. And here's a quick look at what it actually offers. Now, unlike the Curvv EV, this Curvv ICE has quite a distinct face from, say, the Nexon, the regular version. And that's mainly due to this grille arrangement. Now, you have these etched sort of motifs over here, something that the Harrier and Safari also have now. But this grille arrangement, I think it's a bit more outward, it's a bit more aggressive than what the Curvv EV offers. So, and you also have these different shades of colors. You have this sort of copperish shade here, that red over there, and that differentiates the EV from the ICE version. Now, the big news with this Curvv ICE version is this new petrol engine. It's a 1.2 litre turbo gasoline direct injection motor, which a lot of its competitors, Tata Motors competitors, are also introducing. And the power outputs, they are 123 PS roughly, I'm assuming right now, and 250 Newton meters. But there's a lot of tech that's gone into it. For example, you get a high pressure injection system, you get a variable geometry turbo that's electrically controlled. And when you're using the manual gearbox with this engine, there's actually an AI powered system that matches revs. That's something really smart and sort of helps you drive manual cars better maybe. Now, you can also get the Curvv ICE with a new diesel engine. We don't have all the specs about it just yet, other than the fact that it does 22.4 kilometers per litre. But both the petrol and the diesel pair with an updated 7-speed DCT gearbox. Now, in keeping with that more aggressive look that this ICE version of the Curvv has, you have a slightly more outward sort of look to the alloy wheels. They're the same 18-inch size as the EV, but they're done up a bit differently. Now, one big difference from the EV is the ground clearance. There's 208 mm of it here, so that by itself is quite large even for this segment. But another sort of trait that this car has, which is quite different and not many car makers, especially in this segment, talk of, is the approach, departure and breakover angles. Now, they're the biggest in this segment. We'll put the numbers down below. So that's another great touch. Of course, you get these same flip type door handles with that illumination here. So in terms of that hardware, there's really not much different. And really the bodywork, the body shell is more or less identical to the Curvv EV. Now again, from the back side, you realize that there's very little that separates the Curvv EV from the ICE Curvv. And yeah, you have slightly differentiated sort of design for the bumper. This has again a more aggressive look, a bit more gloss black if you will. But the features are more or less the same. You still get that powered tailgate, and it still has the gesture control function just like the EV version. And here you have a similar amount of boot space, 500 liters. Now you have similar storage spaces, this sort of compartment here, these hooks here, that JBL subwoofer. So yeah, very little to differentiate the EV from the ICE version. Now this stark, dark sort of wine colored theme is unique to this top end version of the Curvv ICE. But otherwise the space here is really not much difference. Of course, you have that usual difference of the floor being slightly lower. So you have, as you can see, a bit more under thigh support than that version. Your feet sort of sit a bit lower. So in that sense, this part is a bit more spacious if you will, but otherwise there's really not much difference. So you have that same sort of bump to the edge of the seat, which gives you that added sort of support, which is great. You have the same reclining function, again same like the Curvv EV. We would have liked a center headrest, but sadly that isn't there. Same sunroof with the ambient lighting, and my headroom too, there's really not much to choose between this and the EV. They're near identical. No, but one difference that I noticed that unlike the 45 watt charging that you get in the Curvv EV, you just get a Type C and a Type A here. Now this is what the inside of the Curvv ICE is from the front. Same features, you get a powered seat for the driver, ventilation here, same big 12.3 inch touchscreen, that same 10.25 inch driver's display. The theme is different again to go with this red and silver. You'll notice that the colors are a bit different, but otherwise very similar to what the Curvv EV has. You get a different set of buttons here. Those charging buttons are sort of not there anymore. Same wireless charger here, that parking brake electronic one, the auto hold. Again, the screen is near identical. You get a new arcade.ev system for both the EV and the ICE, which has a few more apps like Spotify and Park Plus, so that's good. But again, otherwise all the functions remain the same. You get the JBL sound modes, you get the EQ indicator, you get the wireless Android or Apple CarPlay, the navigation from these functions right in the screen, the blind spot monitor, the 360-degree camera. So all those features from the Nexon EV and the Nexon that were good, they've carried it over here and added a few more like we just mentioned. But a new addition over the Nexon is the addition of level 2 ADAS. It gets a whole host of functions, exactly what you've seen in the Harrier and Safari, maybe a few more. but that we have to test out later. So you have that lane keeping assist, the auto emergency braking, the blind spot monitoring, all those functions that you expect in a level 2 ADAS car, those have been added to both the EV and the ICE Curvv. Now we don't know prices of the Curvv ICE just yet, but it will launch on the same date, September 2nd, as the Curvv EV. So what do you think this should be priced at? Let us know in the comments. And would you buy this over, say, the whole host of other more conventional, maybe slightly more practical SUVs that you can buy at this price point? Let us know in the comments.